Welcome! I'm glad you've tuned into Woodworking with Wes. Do you ever feel intimidated by the thought of building a strong and precise drawer? Today I'll show you how to tackle drawer making step by step, breaking it down into easy to follow instructions. Whether you're building cabinets or furniture, drawer making is a key part to so many projects. Mastering the skill of building strong, precise, and durable drawers is so essential. Today I will build a simple drawer with a rabbet joint corner that is strong and surprisingly simple to master. In fact, this drawer construction method is what we're using on this week's project. These are the sides to the drawers that we'll be building. The length of the side is determined by the length of the drawer guide that you're going to be using. In this particular case, we're 16 inches, so our sides are 16 inches long, and the height is determined by the height of the opening. This will have several different sizes, and I have them all cut to the size I want to. The first thing we're going to do is create our rabbet joint, which is only done on the side. Let me show you how that looks, and I'll explain to you how it's done, and then we'll go do some. This is the look of the rabbet joint. You can see right there a little rabbet joint. This is the side. This is the interior of the drawer. This is just my mock-up piece, but this is the interior of the drawer, and this is the front and back panel that will go together, and it goes together just like that. We start off by making a simple kerf cut on our table saw, just like that. I made one so that you could see how it looks. I have my table saw set up with my blade at the right height and my fence set at the right depth to make this kerf cut. Now that kerf cut is the thickness of the material that we're using for our drawer box. You can see how that lines up just like that. Okay, I have removed the riving knife on my saw because the top of my riving knife is higher than the height of my blade, and I want to make sure that my blade cuts nice and smooth all the way along. I just wanted you to know that. All right, let's show you. Let's make a couple of cuts on the sides of our drawer box. We determine first off which is the good side, which is the bad side, and there's always one side that's just a little better than the other. This is pre-finished 5/8 Baltic birch, and it really doesn't make any difference what material you use for your drawer, whether you're using solid or 3/4 inch plywood or whatever. All of the dimensions are based upon what you're using as your material. I'm just using 5/8 Baltic birch. Okay, we'll set up our saw. Okay, I'm going to make that the outside of my drawer. That's going to be the inside of my drawer. Using my miter fence, I'll turn the saw on and we'll make that cut. There's our kerf cut that we made, just like the one that we made in our sample. Now, in order to guarantee consistency, I'll make all of my kerf cuts on all of both ends of my drawer sides first before I go any further. Always, always, always pay attention to the consistency by doing one step at a time and making sure that that step is complete before you go on to the next one. With all of our first cut made, just like we showed on our sample piece, I now go and make the secondary cut to complete my rabbet joint. You can see here how I've just started. You can see where the blade cuts and completes the nice square slot for this rabbet cut. We do that by using our tall panel jig. Now, I have a video that I've done showing you how to build this tall panel jig, and I use it whenever I make an end cut on a tall panel, just like this. I take a clamp, I clamp my piece of work that I'm using and use this to go through the saw. This allows me to hold on to it good and safely, but it also makes sure that it's straight up and down like it needs to be, so that this cut that I'm making creates a nice square rabbet. Let's go ahead and make a cut. You can now see how this completes the rabbet cut on the end of all of our boards. Now, like I say, we'll go back and we'll complete this process all the way through before we move on to our next step. With all of the rabbet cuts made, it's now time to determine the length of the front and back. Remember, these are the sides. We need to determine the length of the front and back boards that we'll be cutting. We know that they'll be the height of our sides, and with this little rabbet cut, all we need to do is put them back to back like this right here and measure the distance here and subtract that from the overall width of our drawer. Now, just to give you an idea of what we're doing on this particular build, our opening is 29.5 wide. Now, actually, it's 30.5 wide. So our drawer is going to be 29.5 wide. We're subtracting a 1/2 inch on either side of our drawer to allow for our drawer guide that we're using. Now, we take our 29.5 and we subtract the distance of these two pieces together, and it's 1 inch. By the way, whenever I cut my rabbets like this, I always make sure that what I have left over is an even measurement so that it's something easy for me to calculate. Now, like I say, my pieces are 5/8. Actually, they're just a little bit less than 5/8 because it's a Baltic birch, so it's not an American product. It's a millimeter thickness, not an inch thickness, but it's close to 5/8. But regardless of the distance or the thickness of the material that you're using, make this distance here something easy to calculate. Keep your math simple. Our drawer, 29.5 wide. And so we subtract that two little pieces. We know that our front and back is going to be 28.5 because I've made these two pieces 1/2 inch. 28.5, 29.5, 28.5. There we are right there. And so what I'll do now is I will cut me the front and the back to each drawer by 28.5 inches in length. I'll get that done, we'll come back. With the front and back pieces cut, I have calculated that I want to have a 1/4 inch groove 1/2 inch up from the bottom to accept a 1/4 inch white melamine drawer bottom. Now, I went ahead and I put my groove on my two sides and the front of my drawer. The back of my drawer is the height from the top of the drawer to the top of my groove that I made for my 1/4 inch panel. That allows me to slide the drawer in. We're going to go ahead and put one together and show you when it gets all together. I went ahead and put one together so I could get my calculations. Here is our drawer all assembled. They look just like this when we get all done. But let's go ahead and put a drawer together and show you how it goes together and how this rabbet joint and a little glue makes it really strong. Okay, we have our sides and our front. We're going to put just a little bit of glue down our rabbet cut on both sides of the front of our drawer. Now we'll get ready to nail this together. We slide our rabbet joint together. You can see how that just locks in there right now. Brings our corner together nice. We're going to be using 1.5 18 gauge nails, and we're going to give it 4 nails. These 4 nails will hold it in place. But also, that glue make a good strong joint. And it's nice and flush on the top. We're going to turn it around here now and put on the other side. Again, you see how that rabbet joint comes together? We line it up on the inside so we have a good tight corner. Okay. We're now getting ready to nail in the back of the drawer. The back of the drawer, we've turned our drawer upside down so that our groove for the bottom is facing up. That allows me to go ahead and assemble the drawer and keep this flush right here on this joint. This allows the 1/4 inch bottom to slide in. Let me go ahead and get this nailed in place. We'll do the same thing. We'll glue this edge right here, and nail it together. Once I had my first drawer assembled, I could take a measurement from the inside of my dado to the inside of my dado, and from the inside of this dado to the back of the drawer to determine my drawer bottom size. I put a little glue in the bottom of the front dado just to hold it in place, and we just slide the bottom in from the back, this is the back side of the drawer that is facing us. We put it in like that. Now we can nail just across the back of our drawer bottom, and it's secure because it's captured on all three sides up front and glued in the front. We're using 18 gauge, 3/4 inch small crown staples. And like I say, we'll just nail across the bottom of our drawer bottom, and that will be nailed in. Let me get that done and let me show you how that looks. To finish the drawer off, we just take our palm sander, we sand around the top of our drawer, break this edge. We can either use an 1/8 inch round over on our little trim router, which I often do, or you can even do it by hand. It doesn't make any difference. And that makes our drawer complete, ready for installation. A nice, clean, smooth on the inside to be ready to go. Now I want you to watch for our upcoming video on Saturday where we use this drawer to make a beautiful chest of drawers. And we're going to see you then on Woodworking with Wes.